Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I thought if I come out of the jungle walking like this, then I'll be pardoned if I'm driving fast in a school zone. I'm driving this. This is the Maruti Suzuki e-vitara. Finally, it's almost 1 year after it was first showcased. It has still not been launched because the prices have not been announced yet. Yes, this car has taken a real long time to come to showrooms or go on sale, but Maruti is like, we are working on establishing a charging network. Anyways, the key is the same as all other Maruti Suzuki keys, which means it's a bit too plain and basic. But anyways, the design of this car is actually quite nice. It's one of the best looking Suzuki models on sale currently. The design is, like I was saying, one of the best ever from Suzuki, after the original S-Team, the original Zen, the original Baleno sedan, the SX4, the Jimny, the Gypsy. Okay, I have a long list of traditional Suzuki models which I really love. Straight away, let's open the front, which is not usable here because this is actually a front motor car. Yeah, there's also all-wheel drive, but not in India. There's insulation right there. So orange high voltage cabling, you can see lot of cables, yeah, plenty of them. And this car has a black bumper to reduce the visual bulk. A lot of interesting elements here. Firstly, it gets the Y-shaped DRL, which is actually turned into the indicator at the moment. But this is the DRL Y-shape. That is the projector headlight LED. And the position of the fog lamps is in the right place now, because in the Victoris, it was somewhere here where the parking sensor is there. Now it's very foggy today, and these fog lamps are of good use because they are placed in the right position. You get 4 parking sensors. This is the radar for ADAS. There's a front parking camera as well, and these shutters, they open and close, so they are adaptive depending on when the battery needs to breathe fresh air. This is actually the towing provision, and there is the horn of the vehicle. Now, this car is actually going to be priced at a premium because firstly, it's electric. It is Maruti Suzuki's first electric car. So the price is going to be on the higher side, but prices have been revealed in the UK where this car is being exported to, and it starts at rupees 30 lakhs for the lower battery capacity, going all the way to 36 lakhs for the higher battery capacity. And I'm not even talking about all-wheel drive. So yes, expensive after a 3 lakh discount which Suzuki is giving in the UK, along with 10-year warranty for the battery and the whole vehicle as well, which you obviously do not get in India. Anyways, coming to the design of the wheels, alloy wheel design of electric vehicles are really bad, but this is amongst the better ones. The tire size happens to be 225, 55, 18. Meanwhile, in the UK, higher variants get 19-inch wheels, which is kind of nice, and you get this body cladding. This thing runs throughout the vehicle. The ground clearance isn't very impressive, 185 mm, and here you can see they have actually given it a flat underbody, concealed the battery properly, which is nice. Request sensor here. Request sensor is there on the other side as well. So Maruti Suzuki obviously gives the request sensors on both the sides, which is a good thing because Hyundai and Kia, they don't do that. They only give it on the driver's side. The rear door handles are actually hidden here like this, so that this car looks like a 2-door. In terms of length, almost 4.3 meters, 4275 mm to be precise. Meanwhile, the wheelbase, that's 2.7 meters. Maruti obviously says this is a born electric vehicle. I kind of disagree. We'll come to that in the driving part of this video. You get a shark fin antenna. That element at the front has been carried over here as well. Brake light, of course. This is the indicator. This is the reverse light, which is there on both the sides. Says Nexa here. Rear spoiler with high mounted stop lamp. Rear wiper and washer has been given. Says e-vitara with the Suzuki logo. It doesn't really have a connected light because that thing does not illuminate at all, and black finishing on the bumper to reduce the visual bulk. You get 4 parking sensors at the rear. This is the reverse parking camera, which is not in the center. It's a bit offset, and you can see the underbody is beautifully concealed here. Let's open the boot, which is not powered, and it's very disappointing because the boot carrying capacity just 238 liters, which is really chintu mintu. The seats can be put in an upright position, wherein the boot carrying capacity increases to 306 liters, super duper small. Actually, that 306 liter of boot space only happens when the rear seats become useless, when you push them all the way ahead and make them upright. Might as well just fold them down, na? And by the way, one more thing you need to notice, they've given this sort of panel on the side. I think it's more to do with aerodynamics here. You get infinity subwoofer here. So this is the only branding of the branded speakers. Audio quality is not impressive, huh? I think it has 7 speakers, 4 on the doors, 1 on each door obviously, 2 on the dashboard. I think they are probably tweeters, and 1 in the boot obviously. There's some storage space here. There's a light right there, and there's a hook as well. Below here you get the charging cable because this car does not have a frunk. That is jack. I don't know where Rose is. Higher, that's the warning triangle. And yeah, there is actually some space for keeping all this stuff, along with this is a very important book, the infotainment system book, because this car's biggest problem is the infotainment. Let's see what's underneath. It gets a full size spare wheel, which was not necessary because this car's boot is already small, but full size spare wheel with an alloy, I think global norms probably. And look at this, okay, this goes back into position. That's nice. The seats obviously fold, but I'm disappointed, no power tailgate here. That should have been offered. Meanwhile, the seats are completely reclined right now, and then this is the upright position, so multiple step recline here for improved comfort, which is fantastic. Door pockets are big enough so you can easily keep a 1 liter bottle, and the best thing is that it has one touch up and down power windows for all the doors with anti-pinch as well, which is nice. It has this privacy glass as well. Look at the material. So they've played a lot with materials. This is actually the speaker, and once I step inside I realize that here is the big problem with this car. For starters, under thigh support is really very poor because the floor is a bit high. There's a magazine holder here, it's not scooped out. There's no magazine holder here, and you obviously get isofix child seat mounts. Meanwhile, you get a proper center headrest as well. But where's the center armrest? Well, to use it you have to pull it like this, which is very inconvenient, and there you get 2 cup holders as well. So 40, 20, 40 split seats, so you can fold them if you want to increase the boot carrying capacity, which is essential here. And this thing is a bit hard, so someone who's sitting in the center is not going to be comfortable on the back side of things, and this obviously protrudes, so legroom is not the best here. You get 2 charging sockets, one USB-C and one USB-A, and a space to keep your phone as well, which is nice. So footroom is not the best. Kneeroom is good, legroom is good, but headroom is really poor. My head is almost touching, so they should have done a better job in terms of the headroom. This is beautifully damped. There's a hook here, there's a light here, which would have been better in terms of activation, and you get adjustable seat belt height for the front seat belts. Now if you notice one thing, this is different, this is different. Somebody seems to have turned this around, because what is this? Which is the right one? Let me know in the comment section below. So in terms of rear seat experience, this car really lags, because why didn't they think the under thigh support and the headroom issue through? They just did not. The dashboard is actually quite premium for a Maruti Suzuki car, because the materials they have used are actually quite nice here, so I'm impressed with that. But this feels so flimsy, a typical Maruti affair. Let's get out, and first things first, you can just fold the seat down like this. The problem is, in some of the cars now, this thing was not working, so I was pulling it, but it just did not work at all. Proper seat belt for the center passenger as well. So center passenger has been welcomed in this car, but unfortunately he's not really welcome. This car is going to be available in 3 variants. There are 3 variants. There is, I think, Zeta, Alpha, and one more variant. I just get confused with the variant structure of Maruti Suzuki cars. Here is the charging port, which is, I think, in the right place, at least not in the front, because usually a front end kiss would mean that the charging port can get damaged. There's a camera here, obviously, and overall the design of the car is something which is really nicely done. Looks nice, looks aggressive, the cuts and creases, and I mean, definitely this is well designed. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the interior, because it is one of the worst I have ever seen in a Maruti Suzuki car. Not in terms of design, but in terms of the intuitiveness, because it's lacking. I'll come to that in a bit. Door pockets are big enough at the front. All the switchgear seems to be new. Yes, finally we said bye to the Swift switchgear. One touch up and down, along with illumination on all the doors, which is fantastic. 10-way power adjust for the driver. Again, fantastic. You get a proper dead pedal, but a lot of dummy buttons here. Yeah, a lot of them. Only for the camera you have a button here. There is no heads-up display, which should have been offered, because other Maruti Suzuki cars have that. Here you got storage space along with a 12-volt and a USB-A and a USB-C charging socket. Not very convenient to use. Seats are nice and comfortable actually, and it's leatherette seats with a mix of, I think, fabric and all those things. So that's kind of well done here, no denying the fact. And the good thing is you get a mirror here, but there's no light, and this does not extend either. Same is the case here as well. Auto dimming mirror. You have got light controls here on the top, and this is for the SOS. So you might be wondering, how do you open the sunroof? Well, you don't open this, because this does not open at all. It's a fixed glass roof, so technically it's not a sunroof, it's a moonroof. Even though Maruti's website says sunroof, this is not a sunroof, this is a moonroof, and you have to manually operate this, and this is obviously very flimsy here, which is a bit disappointing. The glove box is decent size, doesn't get the cooling function, and again flimsy. A lot of hard plastics lower down, but you get some soft material here on the top, which is nice. And I like the brown treatment. It's actually quite premium, definitely a good thing. Now I need to open the door to show you. There's actually an airbag here, knee airbag. This car comes with 7 airbags, and if you have already not noticed it yet, it gets a 2-spoke steering wheel, which actually looks quite nice. Notice 1, 2, 3. 3 dummy buttons. Why? Funny thing is, if a call comes, you have to pick it from here. You cannot pick it from here because these are the buttons for cruise control, and this is for the audio system. Obviously, there's a favorite button, but if you want to make changes to the region levels, from this screen. What? Yeah, seriously. They could have used these buttons for picking up a phone call, declining a call, all those things. No, they decided let's keep dummy buttons instead. Automatic headlights, automatic wipers as well. That is the vehicle start button. You get a wireless charging pad here, twin cup holders, and there's some storage space here, a lot of storage space. Actually, this is the extension of the rear AC vents. Meanwhile, this panel is absolutely unnecessary. Why do I need such a big switch for deciding the mode, drive mode, like reverse, neutral or drive? Like, this takes too much space. Born electric, this should have been like a big cubby hole, but no, Maruti is like, let's put this big fat thing here. Electric parking brake, auto hold, drive mode. This is for the region, but if I press this, it only activates and deactivates the region. It does not alter the region modes, and there are no paddles to alter the region modes either. Meanwhile, this is for snow mode, this is for drive mode, which is weird. Snow mode is one of our drive modes. It should have been here, and instead these 2 buttons could have been for seat ventilation. But seat ventilation is one of the most complex things in this car. First you get into climate. Alright. After this, you press this button. Now you might think that I can simply press this button to turn on seat ventilation. No. You press this, then you have to decide the speed 1, 2 and 3. This is just ridiculously complex and unnecessary steps to do what? I have no clue. Like, they haven't really thought this through. Just random stuff happening here. Because let's get into region. Okay, how do I alter the region levels? I come into the settings, I come into EV, then I come into regeneration boost, customize, and then I can change it. Okay, this is the way to change the region levels. That's right. And then you can save it that every time you turn on the car, it will be on the same one. But this button, it only activates and deactivates, does not change the region mode at all, which is very surprising and unnecessarily complex. So they've complicated a lot of things for no reason. Firstly, there are no physical buttons for a lot of things. Thankfully, for air conditioning, there are physical buttons, and for the volume also, there are physical buttons, and you can turn it off like this. Now, notice these AC vents, easy to close, and they are a bit offset. Vertical AC vents, hazard light switch has been given here. Let me turn off the air conditioning right now. So, they have really complicated stuff because, see, you get the information here, which is basically what's the battery level, what is the driving range. You can come into the history. There's a tire pressure monitoring system here. And then you can come into the EV mode, wherein you can see and set how we want the charging to happen. So you can see the temperature, you can time the charging, you can set the maximum levels for the charging as well. But why everything in this screen? I simply do not understand. There's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which work wirelessly, which is quite nice. This is actually a 10.1 inch screen, which is slick enough and has more data when compared to other Maruti Suzuki systems. Then you obviously have the ADAS menu. Now, I'll tell you the funny thing. I come to the ADAS menu and I'm like, okay, let me do one thing. Let me like get into the ACC menu, which is Adaptive Cruise Control. I press this once, it gives me a display of what's happening. I press it again, then I come into the settings menu. Why do I have to do it like that? I have no idea. Blind spot monitor once, twice, then I come into the menu, and there's a lag as well. So unnecessarily they've complicated things because they think that EV guys will obviously spend a lot of time on the charging station. So they have all the time in the world to go and make changes from this screen. So you can alter a lot of things for the interior and exterior from here. So in order to make changes to this particular screen, which happens to be a 10.25 inch screen, you have no buttons on the steering. You have to do it from this screen only. So you want to change the layout, you have to do it from here. So there are 3 different layouts. And again, the response is a bit slow. It takes its own sweet time to actually make changes. Again, disappointing to say the least. For this screen trip also, I have to get into this particular screen to make changes. Why? Then center screen also I have multiple layouts, so I can make changes like that. Not much of a difference. It has got ambient lighting, 12 colors for the ambient lighting with 7 brightness levels. So these are the 12 colors here. I've just put it on red. I think red definitely looks the best. But ambient lighting only works here, and yeah, that's about it. Only at the front. There is no ambient lighting at the rear at all, which obviously brings me to the footwell light. So there's some light coming on the footwell as well. Let's come into reverse straight away. This is the reverse parking camera. So multiple camera views here. but you see the number plate. So again, camera quality is definitely not the best. And if I press this camera button, view button here, it does this 360-degree spin, which is a typical of all Maruti Suzuki cars which have a 360-degree parking camera. So I can get another underbody view as well. Now I'm just not happy with how there are no physical buttons and everything is super complex that I have to press things twice or thrice to make things work. No, that's not cool at all. You know what is this panel? That is for the rain sensor, obviously. In order to come out of this, I have to press this button on the right only, then only I can come out of it. Oh my goodness, why Maruti? Why? Like, it ain't broke. Why fix it when things are fine in your other cars? Why would you do that? Because obviously the Victoras and all those have the ventilation button somewhere here, and the screen size is the same as the Victoras, which is 10.25 inch and a 10.1 inch. But I don't know why they wanted one panel like Mercedes and Mahindra or even Hyundai for that matter, because this is fine. But just look at this. There is so much empty space here. It's quite ridiculous, the amount of empty space here on the top. The reason is that because the way this thing has been designed to have a single piece, this has to be down so that it's visible from here. And that's the reason someone who's sitting on the left side is like, what is this? Why is this a blank? First time I saw this, I was like, okay, there might be some issue with the software. It has pushed this down. But no, this is how it is and it's not nice. Steering wheel, it's adjustable both for reach as well as rake. But yeah, this is just not right the way it has been done, and how things are so complex in this car for no reason at all. I'll get really frustrated trying to turn on ventilation or try to alter the regen levels of this car, or even to alter things from ADAS. Just doesn't work. It's just too much, unnecessarily dragged and stretched, and then my knee obviously hits this place, and then if I have to charge my phone, then I have to like dive here to do that. Okay, storage space is here, but this is so unnecessary. This obviously does not slide. Even if it slide, where it will slide and go. So yeah, certain problems in this car. Hard plastics have been given here, and overall fit, finish and quality levels are the best in a Maruti Suzuki car, but still there is scope of improvement. Because certain things with, you know, door beadings and all, I found them to be inconsistent in multiple cars which I saw. And this piano black is obviously getting scratched. I didn't even do anything. Look at this. It's getting scratched. It's a fingerprint magnet. Why? Just kind of baffles me. Anyways, Maruti calls this interior as the dual tone soft touch dashboard, but it's not very soft as such. But I like this treatment. It looks nice. It has a PM 2.5 air filter. I don't see an EQI monitor, which would be really useful in this area of the world because it's so polluted. And these seats actually slide ahead and behind. Yeah, these are sliding seats so that you can increase the boot carrying capacity. Very important, little hard to push, but very important, because trust me on this, boot space is one of the worst. Maruti's much smaller cars have a bigger boot, which is kind of shocking. And it has got the acoustic vehicle alert system, which is mandatory to tell people that this car is moving around. Anyways, enough of the yap. Let's start driving right away. All right, let's start driving. This welcome sound is like some yoga thingy, and then this obviously spins all the way. First things first, let me turn off the air conditioning, which does not happen from here, so I need to press this button. Like I told you, it's not intuitive at all. And then to turn off the air conditioning, I have to get into this menu and then turn it off from here, which is like absolutely crazy and just way too many things to handle at the moment. Now I want to straight away come into sport mode, which is easy actually, yeah. But what is not easy is to turn off traction control, which means I have to come into the ADAS menu here. Oh my goodness, this is kind of crazy. Yeah, ADAS menu, then I come into ESP and I have to press it again, and oh my goodness, my fingers need an appraisal because I keep using them so much. Turn off ESP, done. Traction control turn off, it says there. Dual sensor brakes support stopped because ADAS obviously stops working, and I can browse through this because there's an info mode here which does not work if traction control is turned off, so I'll show that to you later. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, into drive mode, revving it. Accelerator and brake pedals press simultaneously. Yes, I know that. Why is this Toyota feature coming in this car? And off we go. Noticed there was no sound from the front wheels, no torque steer, no wheel spin at all, which is kind of crazy. And 0 to 100 km/h, 8.9 seconds. Meanwhile, they claim it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 8.7 seconds, which is a time I actually achieved some time back, but I think the battery is heated up or what, not giving me the full thrust here as such, which is kind of disappointing. Now, this is underpinned by the hardtech E platform, which they call as the born electric platform, which I don't think it is. I mean, why would you make it front wheel drive if you're doing a born electric platform? Makes no sense to have a front wheel drive, because see, torque steer happening there. Yeah, makes absolutely no sense to have front wheel drive with a born electric, because I'll tell you what's the problem. First and foremost, we need to stop on the left because I'm going to launch it, and all of a sudden a lot of bikers have come here, so just going to wait for them to kind of clear. Now, here we go, left foot on the brake. Thank you for going fast out of my sight, but on the wrong way, not very good. Anyways, left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, and off we go. Come on, you can do better, e-vitara. So front wheel drive makes no sense, because when you're doing born electric, you should put the motor at the rear. Multiple advantages of that. Firstly, no torque steer. Secondly, you get a frunk. And third and most important, okay, consistent 0 to 100 in 8.93 seconds. And third and the most important fact of having rear wheel drive is better crash worthiness, because how do you manage all that weight? Anyways, it's time to do the brake test at 120 kilometers per hour. Yeah, not very sure-footed, the brakes, and lot of sound which is coming from the brakes. So that's not very impressive, and a lot of nosedive as well, and off we go. So in terms of performance, well, it's not as impressive as you expect from an electric car, because it doesn't kick you, I mean, put you, like give you a kick in the pants feel at all. So that's kind of disappointing, that it doesn't feel fast enough. Even with traction control off, even with ESP off, there's no wheel spin here, no torque steer. I mean, you should have that option of just going bonkers and put smoke out like certain cars are able to do in this very segment as well. So that's something I'm a bit disappointed by, but we are straight away going to turn on the ESP system, because once I do that, I can come into the info mode and I can make changes here. So that is the map view. It's telling me which song is playing here. So that's kind of nice. However, I'm going to change the cluster mode, and I am so baffled that how can this even be approved for production, because can you imagine how many buttons one person needs to press to make changes? So just going to come into the standard cluster view here. I'm just going to change the info. There we have the map view. Where's the speedometer? It's in the center. Yeah, it's kind of baffling how it has been done. But anyways, straight away I am going to come into navigation, because how do I figure out where I need to go is through this navigation only. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, and off we go. Yeah, nothing really happens. Which actually brings me to the powertrain. Okay, there are three different ones. Two are front wheel drive, which are going to be offered in India. The all-wheel drive is not being offered in India, in spite of the fact that all these cars are actually made in India, yet we do not have all-wheel drive in India, which is very, very, very disappointing, to be honest. So it has a 49 kilowatt hour battery pack. With that battery pack, the 49 kilowatt hour battery pack, power is obviously less. You get 144 horsepower and a torque output of 193 Newton meters, which is the same in the 61 kilowatt hour battery pack as well. However, power increases to 174, which is quite impressive, and the all-wheel drive has 181 horsepower. However, the front motor is still making 174 horsepower. The rear motor is actually producing 64 horsepower, but combined they do not add up as such. So overall peak output is 181 horsepower. However, torque of 307 Newton meters is very impressive, and this obviously shows in the 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration time. This takes 8.7 seconds claimed. The 49 kilowatt hour battery packed car, that gives a time of 9.6 seconds to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, the all-wheel drive takes 7.4 seconds to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, which is very impressive. The battery has been sourced from BYD. It's the blade cell technology, which obviously is the industry norm, and that is the best part about this car, the BYD battery, which has, I think, 120 cells. Yeah, 120 lithium ion cells, or 96 cells if you opt for the lower or smaller battery capacity. The result is that there's good range actually. The claim range is 543 kilometers, which is Maruti's claim for the bigger battery. However, in the real world, expect around 440 kilometers of range, which is not bad at all. Meanwhile, I'll be honest, the smaller battery pack is the one to avoid, because range would not be that impressive. In the UK, where the car is already on sale, there the battery pack is actually, the bigger battery pack is giving around 428 kilometers of range. In India, obviously, too optimistic, Mr. AR, they just work for the manufacturers, not for the customers. It is obviously IP67 compliant battery pack, which is basically dust proof and penetration proof and waterproof and all those things. And because this car has a heat pump, it's able to recycle the battery heat to prevent using the air conditioning, and thereby obviously ending up saving what? The battery, yeah, because obviously you don't have to run the battery to produce heat, which is not very useful for us in India, unfortunately, because our winter is not that extreme unless you're in the north, which I am right now, and you can see there's so much fog, there's so much pollution, and that's a bit of a problem that the car doesn't really have a proper air purifier like Hyundai Kia cars have, or something at the rear. That is not here. Now Maruti will obviously offer something known as BaaS, which is battery as a service. That's how they're going to get a competitive pricing. But with BYD batteries, it's obviously going to be expensive, so half the price of the car obviously goes into the battery alone. The weight of this car is 1702 kgs for the smaller battery pack. The bigger battery pack, which is this one, is 1800 kgs, which is honestly quite heavy. Top speed is limited to 150 kilometers per hour, which is obviously a bit on the lesser side. And the thing here is that they have cut corners in terms of insulation, because I can hear a lot of wind noise, I can hear a lot of tire noise, so it's not very silent. It's actually quite aerodynamic, but it's not silent at all, and you can hear a lot of the sound. Meanwhile, let me quickly do the horn test. Yeah, the horn is not that nice, the typical case of Maruti horns, but the wipers, they are fantastic. A lot of spray, and the wiper blades phenomenal. Yeah, good quality wipers in a Maruti, which is something I'm impressed by. In terms of charging, well, I am honestly not sure what charger they're going to give with the car. Maybe they're going to give a 7.4 kilowatt AC charger, but if you happen to get the bigger charger, which is the 11 kilowatt AC onboard charger, that will take the battery from 10 to 100% in around 5.5 hours, which is good. Otherwise, it can DC charge up to speeds of 70 kilowatt, which means that the battery will charge from 10 to 80% in just 45 minutes, and hopefully Maruti is able to give us those chargers as well. Now, this car has got 5-star rating from Bharat NCAP. I hope Global NCAP also tests this car, and this car is purely made for the European markets, and you can feel that. How? For starters, the ride is on the firm side. You can feel that firmness. It feels on the stiffer side. So yes, it is made for European markets, and then the wheels are also low profile, tires actually low profile. All these factors clearly point that this car is made for the European market, where the roads are much better. So at low speeds, obviously on bad bumps, you can feel it, and it also gets a bit bouncy at higher speeds. That's another small problem with this car. I expected better, honestly. I expected the ride to be much smoother. It's not. There are 3 drive modes. There's Eco, there's Normal, and there's Sport. Sport obviously gives you more power, more performance. Eco actually is for better range, and the steering has some slack in the center, but it's a direct steering. It's a good steering. The car is fun to drive. It doesn't feel its weight. It has low center of gravity. Feels quite nice to drive, in spite of the fact that it doesn't give you a kick in the pants feel. I definitely enjoy driving this car because of the torque, the instant torque. You can actually pelt it and have fun. Yeah, this is quite nice and fun to drive. Yeah, I do enjoy driving this car. In spite of the fact it's electric, there's no sound, there's no fake sound. You can't change sounds on the inside, which is good. I mean, why complicate things by getting fake sounds? If you want fake sounds, well, just get an ICE. Actually, what happened now? I was driving the Victoris CNG. Then the Victoris is 1.5 litre engine, whether in CNG, whether in just mild hybrid or with all-wheel drive, just doesn't feel exciting enough. So when you sit in a Maruti car which is electric, which has instant torque, obviously because of the way electric works, you definitely like the performance. It feels instantly quite punchy, in spite of the fact it's not as punchy as it should be, because there's no kick in the pants feel. 193 Newton meters of torque is actually less. There should have been more torque. 193 Newton meters is actually not like an EV level torque, because ICE cars are giving more torque. Even turbo petrol engines are giving more torque, but Maruti is like, let me compare this to my own NA petrol engines, wherein this car will obviously feel much more exciting. Maruti's game plan here is very different. There's been less focus on developing the car, and that shows because of the way the whole touchscreen has been done and everything has been stuffed inside, because the main focus is obviously establishing a charging network. They currently have 2,000 charging points in 1,100 cities with Maruti and their partners, because obviously their dealership network is humongous, which means if they put one charger at each and every one of their dealers, they have a lot of charging from day one itself, and that's going to be the real USP. They are 1 lakh charging points by 2030, and if they achieve that, it's going to be absolutely bonkers. That's going to be super duper crazy. But I expect that the roll, yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, there is body roll. Handling is decent. Doesn't feel top heavy as such. I mean, why will it feel top heavy when the center of gravity is such? But directional changes are nice. Only thing is that roll you can feel because of the weight and obviously the suspension, which should be better tuned for Indian conditions. This car seems like it has been made for Europe, and I'll tell you the reason why. In Europe, unless and until you have an EV, you simply cannot comply only. It's impossible for you to comply with regulations if you do not have an EV. So they had to bring an EV. In India, people are getting EVs to comply with CAFE norms, but Maruti Suzuki is already compliant with CAFE norms. Why? Because most of the cars which they sell are small Chintu-Mintu cars which are light and fuel efficient. They don't have diesel anymore, so yeah, they end up being compliant any which ways. So Maruti really doesn't care about EVs for India. What is this cluster mode? So that's the reason they were like, okay, we'll showcase the car. We'll see if you want to launch it. And it's been almost a year. They've just been contemplating whether to launch the car or not. It's already on sale in Europe, wherein they had to actually discontinue the Jimny purely because the Jimny couldn't comply, couldn't be part of the fleet as they could not meet the corporate average fuel efficiency targets. With an EV, well, they will be able to. And that's the reason why the e-vitara was born. It should have been way better in a lot of aspects. Its direct competitor is obviously going to be the Hyundai Creta electric, which is priced between rupees 19 to 26 lakhs. I'm not going to compare both the cars right now, but this is the rough ballpark of pricing which I'm telling you, because Maruti is not yet announced the prices. In fact, Maruti has not even told us the tech specs of the car. I am referring to data from the UK website because Maruti is like, no, you just experience the car. We don't want to give you technical details. Obviously, when you have 193 Newton meters of torque, which is less than a diesel, less than other EVs, you will definitely not want to give us tech specs, right? You will be like, kya zarurat hai? They have to really nail the pricing. That's the only thing which is going to save this car, because there are a lot of apparent issues, like this whole touchscreen issue and other issues like space and boot and all, which can't be overlooked because other cars in the segment are obviously both born electric and non-born electric, like converted electrics, and they manage to offer like a practical boot, which this car is not able to. Now, big bumps, well, you will definitely feel them. Oh my goodness, it shakes it everywhere. That's the problem. But this car is still going to sell, and I'll tell you why. Because Maruti Suzuki's sales and service network is massive in tier 2 and tier 3 cities where there is absolutely no other car dealer. There's going to be a Maruti Suzuki service center with chargers, and that's one of the major reasons why it's going to sell. In the UK, I don't know why it's so expensive, rupees 31.8 lakh onwards for the 49 kilowatt hour battery pack, going up to 35.44 lakhs. No, it starts at 35.44 lakhs for this particular battery pack, which is 61 kilowatt, which is definitely on the expensive side. But you know, economies of scale and logistics, they don't have to ship the car out of the country and all those things, will definitely help in a more aggressive pricing. Because if they price this aggressively, then Maruti can proudly claim that India goes electric, which they are trying to do since quite some time now. But I am not convinced at all. It's one of the better Maruti cars when it comes to the interior, the feel-good factor, but this they need to address. Obviously, 1 year has gone since they first unveiled the car, so probably when they launch it and announce the prices, it might have a facelift with all these issues addressed. I'm kidding, that's not going to happen. And cruise control adaptive is on. I think at the moment when you turn off traction control, obviously ADAS shuts completely. So guys, this is my video of the Maruti e-vitara, much awaited, very delayed a car, and then you can hear the suspension, you can feel it as well. Performance, in spite of the lackluster numbers, is actually impressive because of the initial torque, and then the lack of expectations from Maruti's powertrains like the one in the Brezza just doesn't move. Well, now as a product, there are a lot of improvements which this car needs to have, but as far as sales go, Maruti Suzuki can sell a comb to a bald man, and that is the strength of their network. If you like this video, make sure to give the thumbs up, that's the like button, and oh my god, what did I hit? There was a stone which flew. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video real soon. Ho ho ho, bye bye. Oh, by the way, that is the blind view alert, and it has a snow mode which basically makes changes to the traction control system. That's about it. And let me turn on a regen. Now it's turned on, and look at me leaving the throttle at 40 kilometers per hour. The car will obviously come to a halt, so it has this one pedal driving thingy. Let's see how fast it slows down. That's actually quite slow. Stop before that Scorpio comes into play. Actually, it doesn't have one pedal driving. It's like maximum regen. It will cruise at 6 kilometers per hour. Doesn't stop at all. And on that disappointment, it's time to end. Bye bye.